big shot.
Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the Blakeway Spirit channel. Hope you're all having an amazing week. Hope you all enjoyed the weather. If you're here in the UK, we've had like the best sun in like, it feels like 10 years. So it hasn't, but it's felt like that. So I hope you made the most of it. I went to the beach, had a great camping trip. With my friend. I'll put a couple pictures in this. So yeah, hope you're all having made the most of the fine weather here in the UK, because at the moment it looks like that time is now come and gone. But today we're not going to be talking about the weather. We're going to be talking about the rest of the undercard for Karate Combat 46 on May 30th in Austin, Texas. I already covered the main and the co-main events in my last video, so you can make sure to check those out. But now, going to be checking out the undercard. Let's get straight into it. But before I get into it, guys, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. Getting really close to 200 subs. I think I'm like 5 off as I'm recording this. So yeah, even though I'm posting as much recently, the subs have gone through the roof compared to previous months, so I'm really grateful. And yeah, thanks so much. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. But yes, anyway, Maximo Nunes versus Owen Chelmier. Owen Chelmier, one of the most experienced guys in karate combat now, even though he's still in his 20s. He's got 7 fights in the pit. He was the very first bantamweight champion. Feels like he's been doing it for ages. I mean, he has, in the grand scheme of how long karate combat's been going for. And he's coming up against one of the most exciting fighters in the division, in my opinion, and that is Maximo Nunes. He's 38, but he really doesn't move like it. He's really athletic. He's got a bit of a character, I always think, the way he fights. Obviously, his last win was in September, so he hasn't fought in a while, and that was against Mulai Odude. But I think his most impressive win for me was his TKO win against Damian Villa, just because the way he cut off Damian Villa, who's obviously very Taekwondo-based, the way he just cut off his angles, not giving Damian Villa enough room to use his kicks, his Taekwondo kicks. And in the end, just getting that really big knockout TKO win over him. To me, that was, I think, the most impressive performance by him, in my opinion. And yeah, so he's going to be fighting against Owen Chelmier. Owen Chelmier obviously coming back off 2 back-to-back losses now. One against Goyito Perez, and obviously the knockout loss to Mirosbek Tebiwith last year. But you know, Owen Chelmier, I've been following on Instagram. He looks like he's training his arse off at the moment. I'm seeing him in the boxing gym doing loads of sparring. So we've got to remember, I think it was before the Tebuer fight, he hadn't done any like competitive sparring, full contact sparring like that. So it's amazing that it's a credit to just his pure talent and athleticism that he was able to become the first ever bantamweight champion at Karate Combat without doing any full contact sparring. So that's really impressive, but he's doing that now. I'm seeing it on his Instagram. He looks really dialed in. He's on a vengeance arc. He definitely I think he's going to make a return back to the top personally. The more he does like sparring and just higher quality training, which he's getting now, I think he's definitely going to make his way back to the top of this division. But yeah, this is going to be a really fun fight. Chelmier obviously showed a very different style to how he usually does when he fought Goyito Perez in Mexico. That like more bladed stance, switching stances. Obviously before he was very much like a very heavily based on boxing kind of style, and his wrestling as well. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how he approaches someone like Nunes. And it's, again, another high quality fight in Karate Combat in that absolutely stacked division. That's the best division in Karate Combat, in my opinion. Obviously, the Jordan Barker and Arturo Vergara fight's off. Obviously, Jordan recently posted on social media that he's had an injury, so he can't do it. Absolutely gutted for him. Obviously, I've interviewed him on this channel, so he's a friend of the channel. And yeah, I sent him a message saying, hope rest up, hope things are going well. Then we have Bam Morris versus Roland Dunlap. Now, when I googled Bam Morris, it came up as an American football player. This isn't the American football player who played for the Chiefs. This is someone who actually was on the One Warrior series. The One Warrior series, from my research, and I hope I haven't got this wrong, is when Rich Franklin, former UFC fighter, Hall of Famer actually, and he went around the world looking at scouting like some of the best MMA talents in all different regions around the world for one, and this guy was one of them. And he fought this guy called the Biafran Warrior. I couldn't find I don't know what his the other guy he's fought a real name, but the Biafran Warrior. One hell of a fight. When actually crazy fight. This fight's actually got over 1 million views on YouTube. So I suggest, if you want to know more about Bam Morris and what you're expecting, I suggest you go watch that. And I'm not surprised that Karate Combat have picked him up. Yes, I know he hasn't got the greatest record in professional MMA, but he's fighting out of the Tiger Muay Thai gym. Obviously, that's arguably one of the greatest striking gyms in the world. And his lateral movement's really good, kicks are really good, really sharp striker, like 1-2, really sharp, crisp striker. So I'm not surprised Karate Combat picked him up. And also, I say this a lot, but I always think it's such a big factor. He's big for middleweight, he is big against a Biafran Warrior. He made him look a little he made him look like he was in a different weight class. So on fight night, Bam Morris is probably going to weigh over 200 pounds. But yeah, he's going to be coming up against Roland Dunlap. Roland Dunlap, if you don't know, he was a part of, you remember that kickback event in January in Miami, in President Asim's mum's house? He was a part of, there was that string of really weird fights in that event. He was a part of one of them when he fought that Cora guy. It was declared a no contest, but let's be real, Roland Dunlap was piecing that guy up. That Cora guy knew what was doing on. He just made the most of it, so he didn't walk out of that pit with a loss. But yeah, it was a no contest for back of the head strikes, which they were. But Dunlap was definitely winning that fight. So he's got an 0-1 record in Karate Combat, but really it's 1-0. And again, we just don't really know that much about him because that fight was just so weird. But Roland Dunlap, he could be the one that could steal the show. This is a fight whoever wins this could be one of the next stars in that middleweight division, one of the next contenders, in my opinion. Next, we have Charles Ontiveros versus Brandon Jenkins. Charles Ontiveros was the guy that was meant to fight Jolton Lutterbach in the Cancun spring break event. But obviously he pulled out with injury, I think it was, and that's when Jolton Lutterbach had to fight that poor kid from somewhere in Cancun who they got in 2 hours notice or something like that. So this was the guy Lutterbach was meant to fight, was meant to face. Now he's finally making his debut in the pit. Hopefully nothing happens between now and then. And he's going to be coming up against Brandon Jenkins. Brandon Jenkins, another former UFC fighter. He's coming up against Charles Ontiveros. Brandon Jenkins, if you don't remember, in the Las Vegas card, he was the one who probably caused the biggest upset on the night, to be honest with you, apart from that Kat Kramanov fight against Stankunas, obviously, because he was a 35% to 65% favourite. He was a big underdog to Gorjan Slavetsky, and Brandon Jenkins came in, got him out of there in the first round. He does not look like he belongs in combat sports at the highest level. He's got mullet, he's got tattoos, he's not a shredded athlete or anything like that, but he is an athlete because he's really he's got amazing kicks, got a background in taekwondo before he transitioned over to MMA and taekwondo, MMA and kickboxing, sorry. So this is going to be a really interesting fight. Ontiveros hasn't fought in around 2 years, so he's going to be eager to get back and have a fight, but hasn't fought in a while. We've already seen people that hop into the pit. Inactivity, to be honest, in any combat sport, inactivity does pay a price. So actually, I think Brandon Jenkins is coming into this as the favourite, and I think Brandon Jenkins, we're talking about the winner of Bam Morris or Roland Dunlap being a potential next star, next contender. I think Karate Combat could have something with Brandon Jenkins. Because not only has he been fighting in Karate Combat recently, he's recently just had a win in game-bred bare knuckle boxing against Tyler Hill. He got a win in that. So he's getting that's another good thing about him, is that he's getting like the bare knuckle boxer audience over to Karate Combat. You just wouldn't think of like a Taekwondo guy doing that kind of thing, but he does. And he's nasty. Bare knuckle boxers, I could never ever do anything. I could see myself doing all the other combat sports, but bare knuckle boxing is one I would never ever do. Those guys that do that, I think, are crazy, to be honest with you. But yeah, so I think this is going to be like one of those barn burner fights, fight of the year. I think this one's got that written all over it. Both former UFC fighters. Ontiveros has been in there with Michael Venom Page when he was in Bellator. He's been in there with Kevin Holland. Yes, he's lost to both of them, but he's still got experience at MMA at the highest level. So yeah, that should be a great fight. That is all of the undercard fights. Let me know in the comments down below, who do you think's got fight of the night written all over it? Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to put on the best performance? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.